The Ghost Bride by Yang Chu is a book that has been sitting on my shelf for so long now that the dust bunnies have made a nest under its spine. This is one of those books that is best enjoyed going into it blind. But as an introduction, here's all you need to know. In 19th century Shanghai, there are two houses that rule the underworld: the respectably evil House of the Red Candle and the terrifyingly nefarious House of the White Bone. These two families have been feuding since before anyone could remember, with their history together being something like the Montagues and Capulets. If they kept having affairs with each other, then killed each other for sleeping together. The story follows Niutsuki, a young woman whose mother had an affair with the head of the rival family. And as a result, she is arranged to marry his son in order to seal an alliance between these two warring factions. The only problem is that said son is an asshole who happens to be betrothed to another woman, and he treats his bride-to-be like nothing more than property, which doesn't stop her from really liking him. Now, while this book can certainly stand alone, it's technically the second in a series, following the adventures of two ghost hunters who travel around China, solving mysteries and getting up to all kinds of hijinks. And when a wealthy socialite comes to them seeking help because her recently deceased husband just won't stay dead, our intrepid duo takes on the case. What they do and realize is that this particular haunting is connected to one of the main character's pasts, and that the restless spirit haunting the halls of this house is someone that he loves. Yeah, not gonna lie, this was probably one of the most frustrating books I have ever read in my entire life. Yang Chu writes with such skill that you can practically taste the grime of the streets of Shanghai, or smell the lily and incense burning at the local temple. Every sense is engaged when reading her work, which is why it hurts so much when the story stumbles over itself, trying to get from point A to point B. You can tell where the plot is going well before it actually gets there, because the writing is so good that you can see all the pieces moving across the board. And yet, the story still manages to surprise you. Even when you think you know what is coming next, Chu finds a way to subvert your expectations or turn the situation into something both familiar and fresh. For example, if this were any other story, the ghost would obviously be the love interest of one of the main characters, right? Wrong. That's not the case here. Instead, the person that our protagonist wants to be with is very much alive. Thank you very much. And the ghost is just some random dude that died in a tragic accident. Or is he? This is definitely not the straightforward romance you might think it is, because despite the fact that our couple is torn apart by death and circumstance, their love story unfolds slowly but surely throughout the novel. It is nice to see a couple who respects each other's boundaries and actually communicates with each other. In a world where everyone else is trying to tear them apart, they cling to each other like flotsam to a life raft. But what makes this story special is that this isn't their first rodeo. No, our couple has met before. In fact, they are destined to fall in love every 100 years when the jade rabbit, the moon in Chinese mythology, passes between the earth and the sun. Each time they find each other, they are torn apart by the machinations of those around them, dying in a pool of blood. Then the cycle resets, and their souls are returned to their bodies until they meet again. Their doomed romance is both beautiful and heartbreaking, and you find yourself willing them to succeed, even as you know it is never going to work out. As far as the mystery goes, it's not bad, but it does take a bit of a back seat to the romance. There are plenty of twists and turns to keep you guessing, but I found myself more invested in the personal journeys of the characters than the actual case. I mean, yes, it's nice to see a strong female character who doesn't need a man to save her, but she also needs to learn that she deserves better than a guy who treats her like crap. Like seriously, sometimes it can be a little frustrating watching her put up with his bullshit. But I guess if you've loved someone for hundreds of years, and they finally look your way, you might overlook a few of their flaws. You know, for a paranormal romance, there sure is a lot of killing going on here. Seriously, this book is drenched in blood and guts. People die in creative and gruesome ways, and the descriptions can be quite vivid at times. So if that's not your thing, then maybe steer clear of this one. This whole story is framed as a flashback within a dream, and it honestly feels like Chu is playing with us the whole time. Just when you think you know what is happening, she flips the script and throws you for a loop. It's a risky move, but it pays off in a big way. By the end, you're left feeling like you have to read the whole book again to catch everything you missed. And that's a rare feat for any author to pull off. So who should read this book? Anyone who likes the romance with a side of murder and a dash of the supernatural will devour this story. It's perfect for fans of Shonen Maguire's October Day series, or Sarah J. Maas' A Court of Thorns and Roses if they had a baby. Just be prepared to lose sleep, because once you start reading, you won't want to put it down. Plus, the ending will keep you up at night, wondering what the hell just happened. And speaking of things that will keep you up at night, how about we talk about the cover? The cover model looks like she just walked off the pages of a Victorian romance novel. But the design and layout of the cover screams generic self-published paranormal romance. I would have preferred something more minimalist with less going on. But hey, the cover art is never mentioned in the actual story, so who am I kidding? Also, while this is technically a standalone story, it is the second book in a series. So I would recommend reading The Night Tiger first. Trust me, you won't regret it. Overall, I give The Ghost Bride a 4 out of 5. The writing is exquisite and the world building is top-notch. If not for some pacing issues and the occasional head-scratching moment, this could have been a 5. And hey, maybe I'm just being grumpy because I'm tired of people being mean to our girl. I mean, come on, let her have a break. Now I want to hear from you. Have you read The Ghost Bride? If so, what did you think of it? Also, what do you think of the cover? Love it? Hate it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't read it yet, do you plan to? Also, make sure to check out my review of The Night Tiger, the first book in the series. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.